guys, the Madcore Hunter podcast. This week I got Danny and Cory Berg with me. Real excited for this. Season's been happening here in Indiana, past couple weeks. So what do you do when you can't kill a good one yet? You have people on that have, like Danny and Cory. They're already ahead of me this year. So welcome to the podcast, Cory. Excited to have you on.
Thank you, man. I'm excited. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah. What have you guys been up to?
I'm
Well,
back in.
for me, go ahead, Danny. Go
Oh,
ahead.
I was just gonna say I was back in Wyoming. It's took me. I've been off work for a few days here. It took me a little bit of time to get back home. I had a new niece born, so went and visited, seen her for a couple days. That was pretty cool, and got to see Dad and Rose and both my sisters. So it was just short little trip. I got to see everybody, and then I actually went and looked at some horses up in northern Wyoming on Saturday morning, and I believe I'm going to be purchasing a couple horses.
How'd
So,
that go? How many hands? I mean, you pretty impressed? Did you
two,
ride them?
yep, yep. They're both one's 15.3, the other one's 16. So stepping up to a lot bigger animal for sure. And I thought I was going to go with some younger ones that he had, but they were green broke and they seemed like fine horses, but I just don't get a ton of time with being gone the way that I am, and honestly hunting as much as I do. That I just it's going to be tough for me to ride like every week, or anything like that. I hope to get on these a lot more than I did with my other two. I mean, I still have my other two, but I just can't ride them. So, kind of excited. Got on both of these. They're a lot faster, and that's something I was looking for. So they're going to be bigger and faster. They're both gated, and so they'll step out a little bit. And they both, from what I understand, have been trail horses, so they've got a lot of experience.
One of these days, you'll step up to the big leagues and get some mules.
I might have to win the lottery to get that done. So
I'm just teasing. Was it tough to find mules out in that area? I know you were looking at mules. What
I,
made you already had horse tack, or what was the decision there?
I mean, some of that, because I mean, when you get into the meals, you got a little, a little different stuff going on. I
Mm-hmm.
was telling Dad that, like, not that it's huge, but you got to run britching and just a few other items on them, so it's more tack that you got to get into. And honestly, I've been around them both. I mean, I've always really liked your guys' meals and think they're better, but I haven't had an issue with horses that I don't find that are very good for the stuff that we're hunting.
Yeah.
And even talking to the guy I bought them from, he runs some mules, and he said he steps up to a mule when he's got a real bad situation, when you're in just really rough country with a lot of rock and stuff. They got a smaller hoof on them, and they can hang on the trail a little better. So I don't know. And I actually talked to your dad this morning. Just kind of sent some pictures, seeing what he thought, and he's saying that he's more of a mule guy for sure, but um, the meals are running a little more expensive right now.
Yeah. Well, I told her, Mom said she was helping text back and forth because I mean, Mom grew up with horses. I mean, she always had a horse, and I think Dad even said she taught him a lot and such. So that's neat, man. I mean, they're a really good tool. I mean, as long as they're going to be safe and step out and
Yeah,
carry the meat out, that's all we care about.
yeah, and I know one of them was skinnier than the other one, and it was because it's been in the mount. He's used it in the mountains for the last month, so
It's good. It's
so
good.
it definitely. I don't know if he was riding, but I think he was packing with that particular animal. But probably get him this week, so pretty excited. But it's going to keep me from being in the woods here for a few days because I got to do some fence work and stuff. This was not planned. I just got a phone call back from a guy I'd contacted during the summer, and he's a friend of a friend, basically another guy I work with, and so I met him, really like him. He's a pretty big hunter. He's got some nice, killed some nice deer and elk and stuff. So it was cool talking to him.
Oh, good. Good deal. Yeah, it seems like something like that always comes up at the inconvenient time.
Yeah, I had to jump on it, and I'm glad I'm making the decision because it takes me forever to make a decision. If not, I'll back out of it. But he's treating me right on the price. He actually gave me a little bit of a deal since I was buying two and everything. I mean, I looked at the other ones. They had one that reminded me so much. It was a horse, but it reminded me of Bud. It's big, if not bigger than Bud, and its face was so long it looked like a big old mule, but it was only 3 and it was pretty green yet.
You don't know what you're getting, man. Sometimes the bigger you go, the more clumsy and slower they can be.
Well, this guy was like the dominant horse, and he was kicking and biting at the other ones, running them off. I got the ones that were a little more timid and stuff. My wife had actually, I sent her pictures, and she'd kind of picked this one black one, and he had told me it was older. And as soon as I saw the horse, got big round hips on it, and just a big bodied horse, and it actually came out of Colorado, so it's been in the mountains down there running for a while. So I'm kind of excited about this, and hopefully get them picked up this coming week. I'm going to try to jump out. I got an antelope tag I got to get filled with a rifle here, so we're going to try to do that this week. And if I get a chance, try to go look for some mule deer, but I don't know if that one's going to happen. Just got a lot going on this week.
Oh, great, man. Right on. I meant to ask you, Cory, did they give you your rack back, or did you leave it at the taxidermist?
No, I took it there. Typically, I'll get the entire thing out and I'll skull cap it myself, and I'll hold on to the rack. I'll take it to the taxidermist, but because of this is the biggest deer I shot, bow or gun. I went mid body. I caped him out from there. I left the neck, bottom 2 or 3 inches of the neck. I let the taxidermist take it from there because he still had a summer coat, like it was real velvety fur. And I want to do something with it to where I can have his head turned and where I can see all them wrinkles and stuff in his neck as he's turning his head. You see some of them on pedestal mounts and stuff like that. So I left it intact so that he could take the proper measurements from ears and eyes and everything, and he could get it right. I need to go pick it up. It's still there. It'll be there it takes him about a year if you're not a buddy. It takes him about 4 years if you are a buddy to get his stuff done. But he's a great taxidermist, and so I'm gonna let him take it off, and then I'm gonna go pick it up, which I could probably go get it now. I just haven't yet. But
yeah, I was just.
I wish I did because I am going to have it officially scored. Come January or February, I'll have somebody take a professional look at it. So we had my taxidermist did measure him at 166 and 2/8 is what he green scored. Netted 163 and some change.
He didn't lose much. He's pretty symmetrical.
He was pretty symmetrical.
Well, great, man. I would say he's pretty close. No. I mean, they say they shrink a little bit and this and that. I know from what I scored mine at last year and my taxidermist, when I had Boone and Crockett do it, they actually, not that he was lenient, but the way he did it, I mean, it ended up being a little bit more than I thought, So just get on the website and find somebody, or if you already know somebody.
He might go a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was, like I said, we were very conservative with the measurement. So an official score might see something we didn't, or might, take the tines down further on the main beam than we did, when we pull off a measurement for the time length and stuff like that. So he'll find the thickest part of the base instead of the way we did it, just wherever the cable lied,
Yeah, you may get lucky and get to that 170 mark, because mine we were conservative. Mine jumped up 8 inches from where I thought he kind of was.
Very good. That's good. That was a good deer, man. But yeah, I'm hoping. So the greediness in me said, God, I hope he's 170.
I know.
But the biggest deer I've ever killed before was 158, but you always want to punch over that next line, that next up that next level. But I was very happy. This is the first deer I ever killed where, I'm sitting there thinking, man, I wish I could still go hunt for a buck. I'm satisfied. I'm happy. I'm done with. I got that buck tag punched, and I'm good. I'm good. Now I get to play.
I know. Well, I want to get into the story, but real quick, because we both know you and such. And honestly, I would like to know a little bit more of a backstory. is when did you really get into hunting? When did you get into bow hunting? I guess let's start with that. I mean, if you're 10 years old or 20 years old, whatever, what, cause you have a passion for it. I mean, we have group chats and,
Oh yeah.
you go out West, you've been a successful elk hunter, and, what got the fire started?
So I come from a non-hunting family, so it's not they're not against it. All my family eats fall game, but my family are just not hunters. So when we were allowed to start hunting, we first gun when we were 15, and that's when we were allowed to start hunting. So when I was 15 years old, my uncle took me out to a spot with one of them old wooden hand built ladder stands. You built out of 2x4s and plywood. We slapped it on a tree, and he said, "I just fast forwarded your hunting career by 5 years. This is what we're looking for whenever you're looking for travel patterns and recognize paths of deer movement." And he kind of gave me a shotgun version of how to look for deer activity. And it was opening day, first day I've ever spent in a stand. Dad walks me out there, drops me off, and I climb up in that stand, and the sun's just coming up. Like I'm just starting to see hints of light on the forest floor. I see a doe standing about 30 yards away. I put my smoothbore 20 gauge, a little bead at the end, right on the blob. I couldn't make out. I knew it was a deer, and I shot, and it fell right there. So, but nothing's changed in the course of my life. I still make the same terrible shots. But anyway, the deer fell, and I jumped out of the tree stand, and I'm running back home to get my dad, who had just laid back down in bed. And I ran right underneath another guy's stand. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I shot deer, man, my first deer." He said, "What are you gonna do now?" I said, "I'm gonna go get my dad." So I went home and got dad, and he went up there, and we drug that doe out, and it was a big old event. I killed my first deer first half an hour in a stand, and it took off from there. We weren't allowed to have bows until we moved out of the house. So 18 years old, I moved out of the house. First thing I did, I ran out and I grabbed a bow, and I started shooting them every year from that point on. Throughout the course of the year, it doesn't help me at all, but I shoot thousands of arrows, and come July, into July, all the way up to end of deer season, it's 100 arrows a week. I try to shoot, but I'm
We
obsessed with it, and I always
we gotta
have
work
been.
on your mentality a little bit, because you need to give yourself more credit. You're a good hunter, man. You've killed elk back to back years, a Boone and Crockett deer. I need to get your self talk to where you're gonna kill this deer, not you're gonna
Yeah.
miss. Because I think you commented on a Facebook post. I think it was that 200-inch deer I was just talking about. You're like, "Oh, I would have missed him," or something. Like, no, you're not gonna miss him,
I
man.
would have screwed that up for sure. Yeah.
No,
Oh, dude.
no, you're a
So
good hunter.
nothing's changed with me. And I always do research to try to find out uh, why I am the way I am. So I'm Googling. So, like, I listened to your podcast last week when Danny and Zach killed. I was listening, and as Zach gets nervous, he got
Yep.
nervous. And I can relate to that because this deer, I seen him coming about 80 yards away, coming down an old log road that was grown up full of weeds. I knew he was daylighting in the area because my cameras were telling me the story. He was showing himself about 30 minutes before dark, and I seen him again at 9:30 in the morning. So I know his bedding's close. If he's on his feet and I'm catching daylight pictures, I'm on top of his bedding because if deer feed 5 times a day, that means they're on their feet at dusk. And before that, I was getting like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. pictures, which is telling me it was taking him that long to get to my cameras. I had to move some cameras around, and I found out where I could get him in daylight. And so I knew he was in the area. I see him coming 8 yards away, stone cold. I was good, man. And it didn't hit me until he got to about 50 yards, and my mind shifted from this is him to now I got to get ready for a shot. And I was shaking, and I didn't know it. Like I was calm as can be in my heart, but my hand was shaking so bad, my arrow was clanging around in my wrist. I could hear it rattling in my wrist, and the deer also heard it. So I'm like, what the world? I gotta, what am I gonna, I'm gonna spook this, I'm gonna ruin this opportunity. So I thought I gotta get muscle tension on this bow. I gotta draw my bow, even though I'm not ready for shoot. I gotta settle this thing down. I draw, and I sprayed a bunch of a local guy here sells a bunch of pure lures, really good stuff. And he's got this stuff called Old Number 11. It's Van Meter and Sons lures, and I sprayed a tree because I'm stinking, man. I was pouring sweat from walking in. I doused this tree as kind of a scent post to, create confusion, anything. And he gets behind an oak and he's back there forever. I'm like, what is he doing? Gosh, take one step out from behind the tree. I can't hold my bow no more. So I'm letting it up. And when I'm halfway up, he steps out. So now I'm at half draw. And the deer's looking right at me. So I let up on my bow. I had to take it. I'm in a saddle in an awkward position doing all this. And now he steps right out and he's looking at me. I think my only saving grace was deer had no human encounters for a year. And that he wasn't looking for me in a tree. And I had a good backdrop too. I had a nice maple tree behind me, breaking up my silhouette. So he didn't bust me. But yeah, I was about 50 yards in. I started getting real nervous. Now I researched this. So buck fever is actually a subconscious thing that's happening in your mind. Because if you think about it, God put that deer here in this instant, and all the events leading up to that had brought that deer here. Same with me. All the events in my life had brought me here to this moment. And subconsciously, you're calm, you're cool, but your body is afraid of failure. And your mind is triggering that fear. Like, this is mine to screw up. This is all converged right here in this moment of time. And I can be as successful as I want, or I could be as huge a failure as I want. It's all up to me. And I think that's what triggers that buck fever a little bit, So
I can
I
see
was sitting
that
there
with
I think it is. I think it's the fear of failure.
well, with anything, me growing up in sports and this and that, and coming in to close a game, being a pitcher and this and that, you have to overcome public speaking. I have to do a lot of that with my job, and that's harder for me. Anything I can take action on, I seem to be able to overcome very well. So, like when you draw your bow back, like action has been taken. And I think you need to have a process you go through. And we talked a little bit about this out west, but if I can anchor and if my bow is level, the rest kind of takes care of itself. Now, younger, I did used to have a little bit of that, pull up and shoot type, and I, even, I started very young in this and that, and I'd screwed up some shots, but it seems like I've been able to take some farther shots and because I think if they did research, your accuracy can go down by 40% when there's an animal in front of you. It's like a lot of guys, they may be great target shooters, but and they'll be like, yeah, I shot low. I don't know why, and they'll blame their equipment. And really they need to look inside themselves and like, what are they doing in that process? It's like in practice, you can pitch strikes upon strikes, you get on a game and you keep doing the same thing, going high and this and that. You lose that mental capacity because your mind's racing. So I think it's good to have a checklist and know if that's something you struggle with, you have to address it like you're talking about.
Yeah, I know.
When we were in Wyoming, I remember. Oh, go ahead, Dan.
I was just gonna say that, like, mine's been a little different over the years. Is like I don't remember being super nervous as a kid, until after the fact. I think that's something I've been blessed with, is usually the moment as soon as I shoot, I blow up, It's not too much of it coming in, but man, when I moved out west and got away from whitetail, I struggled when I went 4, 5, 6 years without really being in a tree stand. And I struggled more in the tree stand than anywhere. And like, I remember particularly going to Kansas, and when I was in a tree stand there, and the does didn't all it was only deer that, like, when you make that decision you're going to shoot, that I started having some issues. But it would be like my legs would get shaken, and I'd actually get pain in my lower back of all things. There was some kind of nervous thing that was happening.
Yep.
And what I always tell people when you're struggling, and this is what I started buying as many tags as I could on does and stuff out west, and I started shooting deer after deer, and just really worked on that for a few years, and I got out of it. And now everything's just, it's back to being pretty automatic. And of course, sometimes I just believe, I don't know what it is, but sometimes I think I shoot better at a deer or something that's living than target. I mean, I shoot fine with a target, but I don't like shooting regular block targets and stuff. I always want a deer target, something. So I don't know. It's weird how everybody's mind is different when it comes to all this.
Yeah.
I can relate to your back pain. I've experienced that elk hunting whenever, I've had close encounters with bull, same thing, legs, arms, back pain. And, but you said it a while ago, Eli, I think I'm a good hunter, but I'm a terrible archer. That's kind of how I see myself. So I'm going to send you two a picture right now. You'll get it. You should get it via text message. Now that first shot I made on the deer, you couldn't have asked for a better shot.
I agree.
It is dead on, right where you would put a pin, and it'd be elevated at about 20 feet. But every encounter I ever have, and this is part of the buck fever thing. It seems like I got the son of man on my right shoulder and old Beelzebub on my left shoulder, and Jesus saying, "Hey, Cory, just be patient. He's gonna give you a better shot." But then I got old devil over here going, "Take the shot. Take the shot.
Shoot, he's getting away. Shoot, he's getting away."
Yeah, he's getting away. Well, that day it was 50-50. I thought I'm gonna make my own decision here, but I remembered what you had talked to me about in Wyoming the last day before you guys went up in the hills. You said, go through that checklist in your head, and I was replaying that conversation in my head when I was at full draw. He was 20 yards, if that. He might have been closer. What I thought he can't get more broadside than this, And being in the trade, I'm in alignment. I've got no fear of my rigging. I am leaning way out. I got my feet up against the tree, and I've got the length of my tether is pretty long. I have my tether weight, so I'm leaning way out, probably 2 or 3 feet away from the tree. And I'm bearing down on him, going through this checklist. I felt solid whenever I pulled the trigger. I pulled the trigger on him, and I heard the real distinct crack, that not shoulder blade crack, but rib cage. I knew I hit rib cage, and that was the first shot I made, and he didn't move, didn't even flinch, and I'm like, I'm missing, what the world? And then he takes a couple steps, and I can see that gaping hole on his side. I'm like, go down. I was shooting those mega meat broadheads to shove a baseball on that thing, and he starts eating acorns. I go, no way. What's going on here? Yeah, he starts eating acorns. So now, I'm on like calm 4 here, and I'm about to explode. My quiver's pinned to the tree with a strap. I don't with the quiver on when I'm in a tree. I reach up, he's looking right at me. I reach up, I grab another arrow, and I knock it, and now he's about 25, 30 yards. And now I'm almost backwards in my saddle. I take the second shot, I shot under him, and I hear the crack. It hit a limb underneath him. Well, he jumps a little bit and trots out to about 45 yards. And I chalk that up as into maybe he thought it was a hickory nut or acorn. A lot of things are falling in the woods this time of year. And now he's at about 45 yards. I'm completely backwards in my saddle. So my strap that I sit on now became a gut strap. And I can't breathe. I'm knocking another arrow, right? He's watching me knock this arrow, trying to figure out what's going on. I draw my bow while he's looking at me, and I shoot the third shot at this deer, and I heard the whop. I thought, guts. I hit him back. And now he bounds off. Didn't run off, tail up, nothing, just he runs off. So then now I'm in panic mode. Like something about this whole situation isn't right, because I thought what I had made a great shot. Maybe I imagined I seen an open wound on his side. Maybe there was, but I didn't see a lot of blood. I didn't find any blood. So that's when I started making phone calls to you guys and backed out of the woods. I found first blood, found my arrow, and I backed out and started making some phone calls. I know a little girl down here, a friend of the family. It's got a dog. It's getting late, and being a father, I dragged somebody's daughter out into the woods at midnight where she would have to drive 45 minutes to get to me, So I called a coworker with his drone. He's got a thermal drone, and we looked for it. We burned through 5 batteries looking for this. We ran after a lot of false targets, stumps, other deer, things like that. And a drone worked good, not this time of year. There's too much canopy. We were at some spots where he couldn't even see me because the canopy was so thick. So we looked till about midnight, and no luck, man. I was crushed. I went from the highest to highs to the lowest to lows in just a matter of a couple hours. And I went home, and I can't sleep, so I'm on the couch at 2 a.m. on YouTube trying to research how to find gut shot deer. And one thing that stuck out in my head was one guy said, and I used his information. He said a gut shot deer doesn't know he's dying. If you make a mortal wound on a deer, lungs, hearts, femoral artery, anything else, a deer knows he's dying. He's going to bound. He's going to flip. A gut shot deer doesn't know he's dying. So hit your trails. If you know the trails, he's on a trail. He's not going to deviate from the path he was on. He is going to walk until the bacteria inside him creates so much pain that he's going to bed down and die right there, usually within 200 yards if you don't push him. Oh, crap. I was all over that woods with the drone. He's in the next county for sure. So we cut off at midnight 30, researched till 2 a.m., went late, took a vacation day from work, 8 a.m. I'm back out there, and using the information he gave me, I knew where this trail crossed our little lane back to the property because I've scouted it before. And I go out side by side, I'll park that lane where that trail crosses, or I get the trail, I take about 5 steps into the woods, and they're right next to the freaking. I see the rack sticking up. I was like, no way, there he is. And I was all over him that night, and I could not see him. At nighttime with a flashlight, it looks like you're looking at a wall of trees. You can't see anything. Go out there in daylight, the whole forest up, there he laid. I just couldn't see him. I feel bad about that, but I just couldn't see him.
How far had he made it?
He was laying right there. He made it about 175, 200 yards and laid there. But you see the second shot in that photo. I thought I hit guts. I hit him high, right in front of the hind quarter, which almost looks like loins. And I wonder if I didn't hit that artery. And that's where I think when I flipped him over. The what?
I said that first shot killed him.
First shot. Well, here's where, because the angle I was at, and because of good boy and bad boy on my shoulder, and me leaning out, he was not broadside, which I thought he was. He was slightly quartered to me, just enough where I'm leaning out another 3 foot, and he's slightly quartered. I think if I did anything, I might have nicked one lung, but I shot behind his vitals. That angle, him quartered to me, that engine was, I shot just behind everything because the exit wound came out low on his belly, and he had some stuff hanging out of that wound completely obstructing that wound. That's why I didn't find much blood. It was part of the stomach, is what it was, hanging out of
Did
the
that
wound.
miss the
So
liver also?
I didn't have any blood from that wound. There was no blood coming out. There was no blood on his hair from the entrance or exit. Now the wound that was further back on him, when I flipped him over, everything pooled inside of him. I think he bled out internally, and the blood trail was. I found here and there blood for about 30 yards, and then nothing. I think he bled out internally.
More of the story
and that's
here.
why I didn't spook him.
If you can put another arrow or two, especially in a trophy like this, you need to. I mean, not to, just keep shooting, but you never know. Because that first shot, like when I look at it, I'm like, man, that's double lung, but just slightly cord and two. And that's what happened to me on my elk last year. So it's a good thing you got that second arrow. And that may have been what kept him from going another 200 yards. Like, he felt sick to his stomach, laid down there. And then maybe you clipped the lung. Maybe you did have some liver or something, because liver, it's going to kill him. I mean, gut shot will too. So good for you for doing some follow-up shots.
Yeah, looking at the the entry on the picture that Cory sent, I mean, it is, you would think that it's your perfect double lung. He's probably 3 ribs behind the back of the shoulder, I'm guessing, on entry. But with quartering to you, it's exiting back a little farther. The height, that's dead center vertically. It definitely looks good on that shot. You'd think it would be good, but it's crazy that he kept eating with a massive hole through him, though.
I can't believe it. Something else I was going to bring up was, gosh, we lost Cory. He was cutting out just a touch. I'm hoping we have winds here today. I'm hoping that his Wi-Fi didn't go down. But something I want to bring up to everybody is the taxidermist I use is also a CO. And he told me when it comes to, now this is Indiana, there's a new law when it comes to drones. Yes, you can use them to recover, but if you're using them to scout, or if that deer is still alive, you cannot hunt. In fact, you cannot fly a drone for scouting. You can do it 14 days before season, and then there's no more flying the rest of the season. So let's just say, Danny, hey, I got us a $5,000 drone, man. We're going to go fly that puppy tonight. We're going to find that big buck. In the morning, I'm going to put you on them. That is illegal as all get out, from my understanding. Now, they don't put these laws out there very much. And, it's going to be real hard to prove the intent of these drones, because you could be like, well, I'm a farmer. I'm flying it to see crops and this and that. But in a sense, I'm against them. I mean, if you're going to use them to recover, yes, but I've heard people tell me stories like, yeah, I hit him back, flew a drone. He was still alive. The guy told me where he was. I tried to slip in there. That's really not legal, and whatever personal ideas you have about it. But from my understanding, it's 14 days before season you're allowed to fly a drone for scouting purposes. You can use them to recover, and who knows if somebody would do this, but let's just say I have a drone recovery business. If that deer is still alive, I technically can't tell you where it's at. Now, if it's dead, I can tell you, I can lead you right to it.
Yeah,
so just thought I would get that out there, because we have a lot of Indiana listeners. I'm not saying, it'd be hard, to prove this and that, but I try to be as legit and legal as possible. So that was news to me. Not that I've used a drone. I don't think I've ever. One year I was going to, I had a good one, and just didn't get a guy there in time. But just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, I mean, every state's going to be different, but I mean, pretty much anything that's with thermal, you're ending up with rules that it can't be used with big game. I know there are a lot of people buying thermo binos and scopes and stuff, and basically coyotes would be about the only thing that any state would allow it to be legal for. Yeah. And I can see why, man. I looked through a good set of thermal binos during daylight, and dude, it would be cheating for out west. Like, no I mean, picking up birds flying, flushing and flying that are 300-400 yards away that you could not see with your regular eyes, but through the binos, it's just bright red flying through the air. I was looking at oil tanks, and there's oil, gas, and water in those tanks, and you could see the different levels and tell what was what looking through a metal tank with those thermals. Cars driving
It's
down the road, you can see their brakes and how hot the brakes are and the tires and stuff. It's
it's
interesting.
cool, man, but we've gotten so far away from the traditional archery. I mean, the founder, Fred Bear. I mean, now, however you feel about crossbows, and we've got drones and thermal imaging and such. It's just, I'm a little bit old school, and I don't want that traditional archery to be taken away. I mean, some guys say we've got training wheels on with our compound bows, but I would much rather shoot a recurve than be out there with a thermal scope, and this and that, and that be legal. That's just me. I don't think that's fair to the animal. But Corey, we got you back. Sorry, we went on a tangent about drones. I was telling Danny that Indiana now, you can only fly a drone for scouting purposes 14 days before season. You can use one to recover a buck, but let's just say your buddy found your buck still alive with that drone. Technically, he can't tell you where it's at per the law. Now, if it's dead, he can. But if that buck's still alive, they consider that scouting, and kind of like you using walkie talkies out west. I think for scout out or for stalking, I don't think that's legal either.
I agree with you there. There's got to start answering the moral questions too. Obviously no scouting, or if the deer's alive, back out, allow that deer to expire, then go in and find a deer. But also we have to make every attempt possible to recover game. I think that dogs and thermals, you're doing the animal justice by recovering him, harvesting his meat, and so I 100% agree with the scouting portion. And if the deer is a live portion, back out, let the animal expire. Yeah, I'm
Are
glad it's another resource we can use to recover.
I think it's great. Yeah, I was just letting you know that's the new law because I hadn't heard anything. I was saying
Yeah.
my taxidermist is the CEO, and he was telling me, he said it'd be tough to prove this and that, and such. But I just wanted to bring it up to people, that
Right.
way, so in case they're about to spend 5 grand on a drone to go find their big buck. Technically, that's not legal in Indiana. But anyways, where were you at with your story? We lost you. We've had high winds in Indiana
Okay.
during recording,
Yep.
so.
Yep. So we found that deer, and I got him home. Uh, you know, it didn't get very cold that night. We had some thunderstorms rolling that night. It was about 65 degrees. I was very disappointed. I was laying in bed trying to sleep. I heard the thunder clap outside, and my heart sank because I knew what blood I had was going to be gone, and trying to recover this deer. But I knew it was going to be the good old fashioned Z pattern, circling, doing what I had to do. I had a crew of men coming. I had 4 or 5 guys that were about to join me had I not found him, and we were going to start combing the woods. He was headed to water. He was headed down on this trail toward the river, and that was going to be my next stop had I not found him. Where I found him was going to start combing that riverbed. So, but luck would have it, I got him recovered, and very good. He was a very good deer and I know we can't see him right now, but his inside was about 17 and a half, but he carried amazing tine length.
Mm-hmm.
His G1s, 2s, and 3s. So I had 12, 12, and 10, still 10 inches on the G3s. Or I'm sorry, the G4s. I had one G4 that was 10 inches, and the other G4 was about 5.5, 6 inches. So, but he carried a very symmetrical, um,
That's where you get your
right
inches, is
on both
time
sides.
length.
Yep, that's where all the length came from, was in his tines. Now he was starting to grow his 11th and 12th. One of them was scoreable, one of them was not. And the one that was scoreable had been broken off as well, I guess, during the growing season, because it was healed over nicely. but he would have been next year. He would have had another set of points. You know, he would have been a 12.
Oh yeah.
But what interests me a bunch, you know, I would like to talk to, like, I don't know who it is, like a genealogist or a wildlife biologist, but he carried the same characteristics from last year. I found his sheds from last year, and had a lot of photos of him last year. On his left side, his G4 was about 2 to 3 inches shorter than the G4 on the right side. He carried that same characteristic this year. The right side was significantly longer than the left side, but it was amazing. How does the antler know? You know, how does the antler know? Okay, we need to stop here. We need to form a drop tine. Year after year after
How
year.
many
It just
inches
amazes
did
me
he
that
gain from the sheds that you found and then you killing him this year? Did you measure those sheds yet?
So last year, without knowing, and I guessed it at about 16, 17 inches. I spread off the sheds I found last year, but I guessed it, or I measured him, and we had him at about a 155. You know,
Okay. So
that is
10, 12
liberally
inches, let's just say.
155. So I think he gained about, like you said, 10 or 12 inches. He gained in growth. So that's amazing that they grew that much in size, and we kind of had him figured at about 5.5. I'm not good at aging deer, but my taxidermist, you know, he sees so many of them that he does, and he said he put it at about 5.5 years old.
That's
So
neat, man. Neat. You had a
last
history
year,
with him.
yep. Yeah, I had a little bit of history with him. Like we lost for years, Tony and Danny's father, and I rented 150 acres off of Braun here in Indiana. That property got sold this year, and he called me. Mike called me last November during the season and said the property is being sold, which was a blessing because I acquired a new piece of ground here right across the road from where I live that attaches to the property we bought. And it's convenient, man. It's a lot more convenient.
Yep.
I can get a tractor. I don't have to haul a tractor. I don't have to haul my side by side. It's right across the road. And this is none of my doing, but we have amazing genetics here. You know, it's playtime for me now. So now I'm trying to learn my herd, get to know my herd. Uh, I'm messing with some scrapes and some musk ropes and vines and rub branches and cameras, and we have a lot of great potential here in the next 2 or 3 years, and I'm excited
Oh yeah.
about that.
It's awesome, man.
But like I said, I'm a camera junkie.
Did you kill your deer on acorns, or were you on a food plot?
No, I just got my food plots out. I got them out a little bit late, but they're turning out great. But acorns, that mass crop of acorns. We got a lot of white oak acorns is what he was on, and I think you know that's the ticket. I do think they need that salad bar. They need those food plots. They need that mass. There's a lot of moisture content, and a lot of vitamins, a lot of minerals in the food we plant, but they also need that roughage. They also need that high fat content and that the acorns provide. So I tried to find a place where I could install my camera and maybe catch a daylight photo where he was hitting before he exposed himself into open terrain. You know, so under the cover of darkness, he would be out in the food plots, but he wouldn't enter those food plots until it was 9, 10 o'clock is when I'd start getting him in the open on my food sources. So that tells me he's on his feet at dusk. He's somewhere munching on acorns before he exits and gets himself out into the open. So I was a little bit aggressive. I was telling Eli earlier, it's sacrilegious for me to get out and blow out my spots before Halloween. But I seen him; he was daylighting himself, and against my better judgment, I went back there and I was pouring sweat. After I got up in the tree, I got my saddle. It's 3:30 in the afternoon, 4 o'clock. I think I spoke to Eli a little bit before I went out. I ripped my shirt off. I had an Under Armour, real lightweight, almost like an SPF 40 shirt. I ripped it off, and I'm trying to dry my shirt. I'm up there with no shirt on, no hat. just trying to catch a little bit of a breeze to
Did you
cool
shoot him with
myself
no
off.
shirt
I was
on?
so hot. No. I got it was about 5:30, so maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours later. I thought that if I'm gonna do this, I better get dressed. So I got dressed. As hot as I was, I put my head dressing back on and concealed myself. I cannot believe I seen a deer that night, and the first deer I seen all year in a tree was this guy. So just like clockwork, I got the pictures of him on October 3rd. I got morning and evening pictures in the daylight. I checked my cameras before we came back here to our little cabin because me and my wife, it was our anniversary on the 4th. And we spent the night at our little cabin. I said, don't make no plans for me tomorrow. This buck keeps daylighting himself in this area. I need to be there. So I went home and I think I shot you some texts and said, say a prayer for me or something about to make a bad shot on a buck.
Lord shined on you, man.
He said, I got faith in
Congratulations.
you.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, I got faith in you. Thank you. It was it's my best deer, bow or gun. So like I said, I'm happy, and it's playtime for me. Get to know my herd.
Yeah, I think you definitely got to jump, when you've got those pictures, because there's a lot of guys I know too, the same way. They tell themselves they will not go to that stand until, prime time. And I mean, if they're on camera and they're daylighting, it seems like they go through definitely a lot of cycles to where every few weeks you might get a few days where you can catch one out early, and you got to jump on that and take advantage of it when they're on your camera for sure.
Oh yeah, like that's the most killable time. I mean, if you can catch them on a normal feeding pattern here in about a week or so, all bets are off. You're going to have travelers coming in and out of your area. You're going to be pulling off food sources and start hunting the buck to doe bedding areas and the travel routes in between. I'll get out probably December, being I'm tagged out, and I'll start walking and I'll start marking every scrape I can find. And my Onyx will look like a mess. But when you zoom out, they choose those travel routes for a reason. Those scrapes are there for a reason. And all of a sudden you got a roadmap. Now you got business because you can start to follow those scrape lines. They're deer hitting those locations for a reason. You got to hunt the geography, not hunt the deer, I think.
Exactly.
So
good point.
That's what I'll be working on this year. Trying to, I don't like hunting over scrapes. You got to use the prevailing wind and hunt the geography. If a deer doesn't have to silhouette himself and he doesn't have to stick his nose in that scrape, if he's got the wind in his favor, you gotta hunt him accordingly. He's gonna hang back 40, 50, 60, 70 yards and win those scrapes. He can check the scrapes without sticking his nose in them, Yeah. So I find these lines and I look at the geography and I find a good place where I can make a shot potentially at a buck winding his scrapes. So
it's a good point.
It's that's what I'll be working on. I'm excited to learn this new piece of property and watch these bucks grow.
It's awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming on here, taking time out of your day. It's a great story. Some good points. Got some comedy in there with being so hot and such. And I don't know if I went that. I've only been out like twice so far, and I've got a lot of different spots. So I'm the same way. I've got a really nice deer that has not daylighted yet. I'm trying to stay out there until then, not to burn that spot out. But just like I've gone out a couple of times, just some smaller properties, and one property I can't even run a camera regardless, just to get out there because there's still that old school part of me is like, you never know what can show up if you don't have a camera there, because sometimes the camera can ruin it. Like you'll run a camera like, oh, I don't have anything here, but you still might. That's just one small area, and you might have permission. I got a property, it's 160 acres right now, nothing's shown up, but looking at the geography around there, I know that there's a shooter within that area, but as of right now, he's not huntable. So that's a good point.
Well, I got a call. It was a couple weeks ago. Well, shortly after I shot this deer, a guy's complaining about cameras. I'm done with them. I'm done using cameras. All I get's 2 a.m., 3 a.m. pictures of deer. Where you're catching that second or third feeding pattern. Your deer's on his, he's not sleeping till 2 a.m. He's on his feet at dusk. You need to move your camera to where you're catching him in daylight, and then to establish that point of where he's going to be at this time. It's taking your deer that long to get to your cameras. You need to find out where he's at, at dusk. That's a killable deer there, So I like cameras. It's just simple fact that I'm not careful. I'm very point driven. Like, this is what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna destroy everything in my path to get there, including my desecrating some of my good hunting spots. So best way for me to scout is to stay out of the woods, especially leading up to season, so I don't spook my herd. So cameras work for me.
No, yeah. Well, we really appreciate you coming on. Danny, you got anything else?
No, I think you jumped into it a little bit. I was just curious if you had got out any. I'm excited. Illinois is still a ways out, but I'm under a month here. I should be hunting by the November 13th. So between now and then, try to get an antelope and a deer here in Wyoming.
No, yeah, that's exciting. We have Cory on here, but I had a question come in. I want to try to answer the questions. I wanted to do it in the beginning, but we'll just go ahead and do it here. I met some guys up in Pennsylvania at the Total Archery Challenge, and he had sent in. He was curious about what kind of glass we were running. I'd say for out west, binos and such, and maybe get your guys' take on it. I mean, I have we hit a phase there where we were running Nikon a lot when Nikon got into hunting, and for the money, Nikon had really good glass. Their scopes, their binos. So I have Nikon, and for the money, I mean, I haven't had a reason to upgrade. Now, when it comes to spotting scopes, we have a Maven. We went with a little bit smaller for packable and such, but we also haven't even used it. We know the area so well that we did some glassing this year with just binos. But I guess just real quick, what kind of glass are you guys running, or what was your recommendation? Not to take too much time, just a couple minutes, just to answer that question.
You can go, Cory.
Oh, what? I tell you, with some of the terrain I hunt, I don't use a spotting scope. So when I'm out, I'm on my back, and I don't have horses or mule. I'm the horse and mule. So you guys are looking at horses, I gotta hit the gym. I stay as lightweight as possible. I carry a small pair of Vortex. What is that? It's not the Razor. What's that one right below it? The Vortex. Got the Vortex Razor, which is the top of the line. Vortex Viper. A small pair of. Is it Diamondback? Yeah,
there's Viper, Diamondback, and Razor.
There. Viper. Okay. They're the Diamondback. I carry a small pair there that I use the glass because I got a bad habit of, I'm hunting thick country. I'm not trying to see something 1,000 yards away. So lightweight for me works better. But I use them forever. Even if I'm looking at something 70, 80 yards in front of me, I'm looking through binos. It forces me to focus on a single point instead of gathering everything in my peripheral and everything. I can focus better with those. But no, I don't carry a spotting scope, and I don't carry anything that's going to weigh me down too much.
Are yours 10 by 42s, or are they smaller than that?
10 by 42s, correct.
That's what I have too. And not bragging, but we all three killed elk this year, in 2 different states. So I think it depends on what area you're hunting. A lot of times we get in thicker areas and this and that. We know our areas and such. So if you're in a newer area looking, maybe using that spotting scope and such. But we have one. We need to use it. We should have used it this year, but it takes a lot of time and such. But I'm addicted to my binos, so they're always on me. I mean, I got my rangefinder there too. So even when I'm out shooting, at 70 yards, I'll pull up the binos away. Where did I hit instead of walking all the way up there? So you've got the Vortex. I got Nikon. Danny, what are you running?
So my main pair is a 10 by 42 set of Mavens. Mavens has got some nice glass, but when it comes to binos and spotting scopes, man, it's money based. People you don't hear that too much because, you know, like Vortex sponsors everybody. It's hard to beat like Vortex's warranty. There's no questions asked. They usually got your stuff to you in a week or two. I had a pair of binos of theirs drop out, and their binos, whitetail hunting, they're fine. I mean, it depends what you want. I jumped down to, I think it was a 10x32s with those Vortex, and I think they were that second tier, and they were a lot smaller, lighter. Hunted with them last year. I didn't like it. I wanted my Mavens back because I'm telling you, those Mavens, those are the glass is clear enough there that I can see what a buck is after dark. And that's honestly sometimes, you know, you get a buck come in on you at night, and especially if it's a target buck that you're trying to kill, I'm going to sit there till the thing leaves. You know. And I mean, I've been in a stand before where an elk, my dad could not see it with his eyes. An elk came in after dark, and I was sitting there telling him it's a 6x6. I can count the points on it. So, you know, it just depends what tier you can afford. They all work well. It's just in that the first 10 minutes of light and the last 10 minutes of light is when you're going to see the difference in the money you spent. Because Mavens is a mid tier. If you say Vortex and, you know, a lot of, I mean, Leopold's, you know, it depends what you're getting from them. I think they have some glass that would fall into that mid tier on the binos and even the spotters. But I, I haven't been able to make myself spend 2,500, 3,500 on a set of binos yet because I'm so hard on everything. But my Mavens, I had to send them in. I mean, they lasted me for years and started having a few things coming apart on them. And those guys, it took a couple months because they had to send it back to the factory. They just wasn't an easy fix. They got them fixed, got them back to me. But like
They're
Cory
local.
was,
They're in Wyoming, correct?
yep, they're,
Mavens.
yep, yep.
I would.
I had to go there one time because so Zach's got a nice Maven spotter that I've used over the years in a few. You know, my sheep hunt, I used it, and I actually had that Maven. Something broke on it, like the focus ring, I think, and I was, you know, 2 hours away from their headquarters, so I drove down, and I mean, those guys took care of me because I was like, "Hey, man, I'm in the middle of a sheep hunt. Like, I need something," and they gave me a loaner because of that Maven glass. You know, the spotter not working, and they fixed one of Zach's and got it back to us. But you know, I had for another week or so of my hunt, I was able to use a loaner from them. So they really
I
took care of me. I really like that. They're a little heavy. I mean, that's the only thing I got with them. But you know, I hate wearing binos in a saddle just because of your bridge. But I can't even stand to put my binos against a tree. Like they have got to be right here. I feel naked without them, and it's too far to reach if they're over here. And my rangefinder has to be right here. You get so used to something, you can learn other things, but you get so used to something, and that's where it's got to be. And
yeah.
that's what I was saying when I shot the deer in North Dakota. It was so strange to me because I did not look at that deer with my binos. And you know why? Is because my binos were sitting on the ground. I had pulled them out of my harness and set them down because I kept messing with a camera that I didn't have on a camera arm or on a tripod. And so it had, not that I wouldn't have shot that buck, but I mean, right before the buck come through, I pull up binos and I'm like, oh, that's a deer I've passed. You know, just in a split second, I could see that he had a point. I recognized him from filming. You know, I love them. I use them all the time, but you're gonna get what you pay for sure when it comes to any kind of glass. Same with rifle scopes, and everybody gets on a certain thing. My rifles all have Leopolds on them now. That's just something I've went to, and it's not like I'm paying. I got a few of them that have their higher end stuff, but I'm kind of in the VX3 HD. There you can get those for like a mid level price for a lot of rifle scopes, but all of them seem to have pretty good warranties anymore on all that.
I'm a gear junkie, and I have not seen the reason for me to upgrade. I mean, these Nikons, they've got some age to them. I mean, my rangefinder, I mean, it's a little bit of a nicer Sig Sauer, but I think I don't know. I don't know if this is
It
like people would probably disagree, but I think there's a lot of other things I would upgrade and spend money on before that because I think you can go to Bass Pro, buy a decent pair of Vortex, catch a sale. They have a great warranty, and man, that's going to suffice. Now,
if
it depends. Like like you had that, bighorn sheep hunt and this and that. And if you're really relying on that type of hunt, then it may be different. But for what I do and what I think a lot of us do, go ahead, Danny. Maybe you have.
I was just gonna say, I mean, for the average hunter, that you're probably not going to get your return back on the money spent with with that better glass. But there is no, I mean, I can't say enough that glass is going to change with the amount of money you spend on it. Every company has 2 or 3 tiers of glass, and that high end glass costs more. It's just how it is, and it's coming out of different areas. But for whitetail hunting, you can get by with a lot less. The guys that hunt mule deer out west and are hunting open country elk, they're going to tell you you're crazy to think that you ain't using Zeiss or Cherokee or something like that.
Sure, yeah.
But you better have, if you want a spotter and a set of binos for those companies, you better have 10 grand that you can throw away. I mean, but they'll last for a long time. So to each your own on it. But I mean, even like sheep, I was with a guide for a day there, and it amazed me. He had some really good glass, but it was 30 years old too. Even him, who's like well known across the country for sheep hunting, doesn't have something new. He's had an old straight, I think Leica, maybe, I believe it was. It looked like you had
good glass.
It looked like you had threw it off a 2,000-foot cliff. No joke. Like I was like, had black tape on it and stuff. I was like, what is that? So it's
Right
interesting how
like
everybody
anything
is.
else, it's a tool.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I just wanted to answer that. I want to start doing that at the beginning of the podcast, but it came up, and I know you guys, we all three hunt out west. It'd be a good time to bring it up. So that's all I got. We're right at an hour. Man, Cory, really appreciate you coming on, man. Keep scouting. Congratulations again. That's it's gonna be hard to beat that buck, but I believe in you. You will.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on. And like I said, I tune in every week. I look forward to every Tuesday.
Right on, man. Congratulations, great deer.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Dan. I'll be in touch with you. I'll be in touch with you shortly. I got some points I'm sitting on. I need some intel. I need some help with them. So I'll be in touch.
Right on.